Today we are going to talk on a topic, multi-platform analysis of human gingival clavicular fluid, which reveals the ferroptosis as a relevant regulated cell death mechanism during the clinical progression of periodontitis. So in the seminar we were discussing about saliva as a diagnostic tool, and there is one more diagnostic tool easily available from the oral cavity, which is the gingival clavicular fluid. So this article deals with how gingival clavicular fluid is important and how it helps in diagnosing the progression of periodontitis. This article was published in the journal International Journal of Oral Sciences with an impact factor of 12.2, and this study was conducted in Chile, South America, and the article title was, as I already mentioned. And before going into the novelty, first we should know what ferroptosis is. So this is an ion-dependent cell death caused by rusting of fats in cell membrane. So the cell has a cell membrane. When there is more iron which is getting accumulated inside a cell, it causes the membrane of the cell to get ruptured. So once the membrane is ruptured, the cell dies. So that is called ferroptosis. We have apoptosis, pyroptosis, necroptosis, so many optosis. In that, ferroptosis is due to iron accumulation inside a cell. Why the iron gets accumulated inside a cell? Normally cells need iron for normal metabolism, but too much of free iron triggers chemical reactions. As I mentioned in my last journal discussion, we talked about the reactive oxygen species. Like that, these are also form the oxygen free ions which are needing ions. So they trigger chemical reactions that oxidize lipids in the cell membranes. When the antioxidant shield of a cell is a glutathione or GPX4 enzyme is weak or depleted, and the cells can't stop this damage, and the cell membrane becomes leaky and fragile, leading to cell death. It is different from apoptosis, which is a programmed cell death, or necrosis, which is accidental cell burst. So this is ferroptosis. So when we see this is the ferroptosis, this thing happening, the GPX4 and the GSH, these are the antioxidants which inhibit this ferroptosis. But when there is a depletion of these antioxidants, the cell accumulates a lot of free radicals of ions, and then it undergoes ferroptosis. And regarding this GSH, which is a glutathione, is a small tripeptide. Glutamate, cysteine and glycine are there, and the cell's most abundant of antioxidant. It donates electrons to neutralize the reactive oxygen species, and its level depend upon the amino acid cysteine. So when there is a cysteine depletion, there is a depletion in this GSH. And if cysteine import is blocked, GSH synthesis is blocked, and ferroptosis risk increases. Glutathione peroxidase is a special enzyme that uses GSH as a fuel. So these two are the important antioxidants which are present inside a cell to prevent the ferroptosis. So why is it important in periodontitis? Because periodontitis is a chronic inflammatory disease of gums and supporting bone. Inflammation increases the iron release. How? From bleeding, tissue breakdown, and bacteria using iron. So this is how iron gets increased. So excess iron plus oxidative stress promotes the lipid peroxidation in the gingival fibroblast ganglion cells, and the GCF proteomics shows the ferroptosis related proteins enriched at progressing sites versus non-progressing sites. So this is about the thing. So the novelty comes here. The ferroptosis is implicated in the pathogenesis of numerous chronic inflammatory diseases, yet its association with the progressive periodontitis remains unexplored. This is the reason they have done this study. You can see in many chronic inflammatory conditions, this ferroptosis occurs. And as I said, apoptosis, autophagy, cuproptosis, ferroptosis, necroptosis, and the pyroptosis are different kinds of cell death which happens. So the aim of the study was to explore the involvement and significance of ferroptosis in the clinical progression of periodontitis. Here there is a schematic representation. They used 16 patients, and what they did, they assessed the periodontal status. They measured the probing depth, and then they collected the GCF sampling from each probe, the selected tooth which had that increased probing depth, and they did all the analysis to find which protein is as a marker for this progressing periodontitis. So 16 patients diagnosed with periodontitis underwent a 12-week follow-up to identify disease progression through clinical evaluations. Clinical evaluation is the probing depth. And the standardized GCF collection was performed on pre-selected pockets in the same location over time. So they collected the GCF from the same location. The clinical metrics and characterization of clinical attachment loss changes were conducted, and the proportions of progressing, non-progressing and regressing sites were determined. So when they were clinically assessing that particular tooth for that periodontal socket, some were progressing continuously, some were not progressing, and some were regressing. So there are different kinds of areas where they could collect the GCF. The clinical progression of periodontitis was defined at the site level, where an increase in the clinical attachment loss of more than 2 mm was told. For further analysis, the PG, which is the progressive group, consisted of GCF sample pockets exhibiting disease progression, while the non-progressive group was composed of GCF sample pockets with exhibiting disease stability. And the subsequent mass spectrometry analysis was carried out. Clinical metrics, proteomic data, in silico methods, and bioinformatics was also used here. They integrated all these things to identify the differentially expressed proteins. So this was the main study where they wanted to find what are the differentially expressed proteins in that particular pathology. Periodontitis progression, explore their potential connection to ferroptosis. Western blot analysis were conducted to validate the key findings, and finally an external single sequence data set. Single sequence RNA I have already mentioned in the last seminar. It is a data set which contains this RNA sequence of single cells. So this is very easy to differentiate between the clusters. So cell sorting and clustering were performed, and an analysis of the expression levels was conducted to provide a deeper interpretation of the differentially expressed proteins found in the GCF proteome during the clinical progression of periodontitis. And what did they find? They found a distinctive GCF proteome during the progression of periodontitis. And enrichment analysis revealed distinctive biological processes and molecular functions during progressive periodontitis. Alpha-synuclein, carbonic anhydrase 1, hemoglobin subunit beta, and band 3 anion transporter protein and ankyrin 1 are the hub proteins during periodontitis progression. So hub proteins are the proteins which are related to the protein which we select. And ferroptosis co-occurs with clinical progression of periodontitis. This also they have found. So the levels of all these cytokines were increased, while the FTH1 is not detected during the progression of periodontitis. And in conclusion, they said that periodontitis progresses at a faster rate than traditionally believed, with distinctive proteomic profiles in the GSF between the progressive and non-progressive periodontitis. Here in the singles SNCA, CA1, HBB, all the proteins which I already mentioned were identified as hub proteins for periodontitis progression. And the clinical significance of this is they can be used as a biomarkers. Ferroptosis related proteins in GSF could help predict which sites are at the risk of progression. And we can use that as a therapeutic target, and as a research frontier we can use link the oral microbiome, ion metabolism, and oxidative stress as well. So the strengths of the study are the innovative multi-platform approach, which uses proteomics and single cell RNA sequencing, longitudinal design, and mechanistic insight into ferroptosis. But the limitations were it was a small cohort which is used 16 male non-smokers only, and it was lacking the generalizability. Single peptide identification increases false positive risk. One is that, and short follow-up, which is only for 12 weeks. GCF complexity, mixed origins of protein, systemic versus local, and associative data. There is no causality proven, and limited validation, external single cell RNA sequence dataset, and no functional or mechanistic experiments on ferroptosis role, which was not tested in this condition. And the future scope would be larger sample size, targeted proteomics, and ELISA for robust biomarker confirmation, longer, finer resolution longitudinal monitoring, functional studies on ferroptosis, spatial and tissue proteomics and single cell approaches, integrate microbiome, metabolome, and lipidome data as well, and develop predictive biomarker panels with ML modeling, and explore ferroptosis modulating therapies in periodontitis. So they used the Helsinki Declaration was used because patient sample was collected, and it was an observational study, so it used the stroke guidelines, in which the title, abstract, introduction, methods were all properly mentioned, except for the bias in study size. The acknowledged limited cohort, all male and non-smokers was a bias, and the study size was no formal size sample size calculation was done here. Whereas in the research, the other analysis, the subgroup analysis were not done. Other discussion and other information are clearly mentioned in this study.